our 2024 astrology video. I'm your Cosmic Girl 101. Thank you for tuning in. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for your ongoing support. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. Okay, Taurus Rising. I practice Hellenistic Western tropical astrology, just for full disclosure, because I have been asked. So I thought I'd put it out there. Taurus Rising, your planet Venus, she's the lord of your chart. If you are a Taurus rising, she rules your first house. You are a earth yin fixed rising sign. We've got our second eclipse happening in a month. We have a full moon in Aries, your 12th house, Taurus rising. So there's a lot to digest, a lot to unpack, listening to the transits, what the luminaries are doing, and more importantly, what aspects your planet is having in the month of October 2024. And happy Halloween. 31st of October is Halloween, and if you celebrate it, wishing you a wonderful day in going beneath the surface, getting deeply connected to your spiritual, esoteric side and practices. The veil is thin, where we can really tune into spirit on this day. So have a lovely Halloween if you celebrate it. Okay, Taurus rising, let's get into your month. The slow planetary transits. So these planets don't move fast or change signs, but there is some action happening. Neptune and Saturn is still retrograde in your 11th house. This is Pisces. Saturn goes direct on November 15, and then Neptune goes direct on December 7. Uranus continues its retrograde in your first house and goes direct on January 30, 2025. Taurus rising, when any planets are transiting in any of your angular houses in your chart, angular houses are the first house, the 10th house, the 7th house, and the 4th house. The transits are going to be more significant to you because these are angles and points in our natal chart that are quite significant. And knowing your own natal chart, what planets are in angles, and when you have these transits, are your natal planets being triggered by trines, oppositions, conjunctions, sextiles, etc. Know your own natal chart. And if you want to get a reading with me to go deep into your natal chart, contact me at the email I provided at the beginning of the video or the description box below. On the 9th, the big news for the month with the slower planetary transits, on the 9th of October, Jupiter's beginning to station to go retrograde in the sign of Gemini, and this is his second house. Jupiter won't station to go direct until February 4, 2025. On the 11th of October, the next big news is Pluto, which has been retrograding in your 9th house being Capricorn, now stations to go direct. On the 2nd of October, we see that second eclipse occurring, and this is happening for you as a Taurus rising in your 6th house. So a new moon solar eclipse has that mysterious, ethereal sensation about it. It's something that is loud, can be quite a moment of instinctual spiritual downloads, like a change is happening, something new is beginning, but it's like that poignant part of your life that's obvious that something is shifting for you. So for you in your 6th house, this new moon solar eclipse, it's something that's on the day-to-day. The 6th house is very habitual. It's the house to do with the physical body, your own personal hygiene and your health, the house of service, services that you need support from, or services that you provide to other people. It's a house of sickness and illness, accidents. The 6th house has a lot to do with co-workers and working, like your career, just as the 10th house does. And we also have an association with pets also in the 6th house. Those are the topics in the 6th house. It's a lot to do with, where we put the work in on the day-to-day. It's very habitual. It's very familial. But you have a new change here, a new moon solar eclipse happening on the 2nd of October in this 6th house. So this is good because something that's habitual, something that's always been, something that feels very organic to you now has a new opening happening for you on the 2nd of October. It can need some adjusting, flexibility, and adapting along the way, but at least there's something new happening that almost feels so predictable. It's just, I just know this is always, I get up, it's the same bloody thing. But on the 2nd of October, something shifts, something starts, and it's like a new path opening up with those 6 house topics. So that's not too bad for you as a Taurus rising. On the 17th, we then have a full moon, and this is in the sign of Aries. Aries for you, that zodiac sign is your 12th house. So it's opposite that 6th house. 12th house topics, this is like the incubation void part of the chart. It's the house that things that are unseen, a very otherworldly part of the chart that a lot of people aren't privy to be invited into unless you open a door. It's a house where we retreat and we get in touch with the philosophical, spiritual parts of ourselves. This house is also where we can go on pilgrimages. We can get in touch with new religious groups or open our cerebral minds to, that spiritual dimension that we may not give a lot of attention to. And the 12th house is a house that's connected to isolation. So distance, there's like a barrier between the self and others, that 12th house. It's quite mystical and ethereal in itself. It's actually got that very eclipsy feeling about it, that 12th house. Anything goes in the void, in the dark, the things behind the scenes. But people don't know about it. It's not public. So for you, Taurus rising, you do have a full moon here. So if you don't want things exposed that have been going on behind the scenes or intimately connected to you, what you've been concealing, if you will, it'll be hard to keep a lid on it on this day because that full moon in Aries is an expression, an instinctual expression of what it wants to take action on, what it wants to be known and exposed. It's a very robust zodiac sign, Aries, and it's also the spring sign of the zodiac wheel. So an exposure of an emotional exposure about wanting to bring in something brand new from yourself, going deep within and saying, oh, what do I want to start that's new that I've been hiding or keeping a lid on for a long time? I'm ready to speak and declare. That's what this full moon feels like for you as a Taurus rising. Time for something new, an expression from the heart chakra. Or could be very intimate, could be very private. You having your moment, your spiritual download, if you will, of let's start something new. Let's get out of this and open up a little bit more instead of being clandestine or having fear or feeling that you're going to be cut off or isolated if you express your heart. Do it anyway, Taurus rising, is the advice of the full moon in Aries, but do it with street smarts. Use your expression wisely and strategically. We don't want to, herald truths or truth bombs that can be damaging or destructive, even though something important that you might have been holding on for some time now needs to be expressed. Others may be surprised by your expression or reveals on this day. So use tact in whatever you're expressing from your heart on the 17th of October. The sun's continuing in its full zodiac sign of Libra, opening up the month of October. Now, Venus is your ruling planet as a Taurus rising. And she also rules the zodiac sign of Libra. So the sun for you for the first 3 weeks of the month is transiting in that 6th house. So the sun is optimistic, it's life-giving, it puts a lot of heat on. It can be very bold and attract a lot of attention, the sun, because it's hard to miss the sun when it's out in the bright sky. Very difficult to miss. So the sun transiting in your 6th house, Taurus rising, on the 13th of October, trines retrograde Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, your 2nd house. And Jupiter only started going into its retrograde on the 9th. And on the 13th, the sun is trining that retrograde Jupiter in his 2nd house of finance, the 2nd house of possessions, assets, wealth, your money, your investments, things that support you. It's like where you develop niche skills that are going to support your assets and build character for you in your future. So you could be learning something new, or something changes in your daily environment that gives you an opportunity to go down a different career path, get on top of a new health regime, connect with new co-workers, for example. Not a bad day at all when the sun is trining from the 6th to the 2nd house. And we're also talking about potentially getting back into understanding your financial position and maybe a little bit hesitant, if you will, in committing solidly to this new work position or monetary offer. You could be a little bit ginger on the 13th of October. All I can suggest to you as a Taurus rising is trust your instincts, because the sun is in fall and Jupiter is in detriment. So we don't want to be too overly optimistic about this potential new work colleague or health regime that impacts your body, your money, or a skill you're developing. All that glitters may not be gold. So the advice astrologically is to trust your instincts. You don't want to be anchored for a very long time with an over exaggeration of, oh, you're going to earn this amount of money, or this is a great learning opportunity, but it ends up being longer than you anticipate, or there's a lot more moral or ethical codes intertwined that anchor you that may not feel in value with you as well. So just, tricky day to navigate on the 13th of October. Only the next day, the sun in fall in Libra squares squares Mars in Cancer, your 3rd house. So this will be the day, if you don't take the astrological advice on the 13th, of just trust your instincts, don't anchor in or commit to anything that feels overly optimistic, or you feel like you're being dragged down a rabbit hole you can't get out of. Because the 14th, when that sun squares Mars in Cancer, your 3rd house, it's like the commitment that you are doing on the day-to-day, education, short-distance traveling, it can hit a snag and things aren't as organic as something was proven or expressed to be, and something is proven to be realistically otherwise now being exposed. So watch your commitments, what you feel instinctually that this is the right thing to do, it may not be. And on the 14th, if you've committed on the 13th, it's going to be hard to retract, detach, or you could feel in conflict with people or the agreement or contract. So it may be a difficult day on the 14th if you don't take the astrological advice of trusting your instincts on the 13th. On the 22nd, the sun then ingresses into Scorpio until November 21st, and this is your 7th house. So you have the sun for 4 weeks transiting in that 7th house from the 22nd of October to November 21st. The seventh house is an angular house, Taurus rising, so it's all about other people. It's about agreements. It's about contracts, negotiations. It's about the house of rest. It's the house of endings. It's the house of marriage. It's a house where you put a ring on it, you sign on the dotted line, you shake hands, you commit, you're in cohesion and connected. And in the sign of Scorpio, which is a water yin fixed zodiac sign, we are talking about long-term commitments that will be difficult to get out of. And that sun shining brightly could be really highlighting these topics. And you may feel a pressure regarding the seventh house topics. And there could be some intense moments regarding concealed feelings or emotions, wanting to know the details, wanting data, analytics, doing your research before you commit to anything contractual or anything that disrupts your sense of pleasure. And also the sun transiting here in that seventh house of endings, because the sun in the seventh, it's like the seventh house is where you rest at the end of a hard day's work. But that sun is setting in your seventh house on the 22nd to the 21st. So expect your energies to be drawn towards partnerships, relationships, and you could feel a little bit depleted energetically as well, not as optimistic, things aren't all rosy. What's all the hype about? That's what you could be feeling when that sun is transiting in Scorpio for you, your seventh house, Taurus rising, from the 22nd to the 21st of November. Now, this is what you came for, Taurus rising, right? Venus, knowing what your planet's doing in the month and what aspects are happening with her. I've got you covered. Venus opening up the month of October still continues her transit in Scorpio, the detriment sign, your seventh house. So your ruling planet isn't content in Scorpio, quite simply because it's ruled by the planet Mars. So when a planet is in detriment, it's not in an environment that's supportive or in line with its character and nature. So you're about, as a Taurus rising, can't everything just be cool, and can't we eat good food? Can't we just relax and enjoy life, go on an adventure? Let's just have sex. Everything's good. What's the problem? Then you're in the environment of Mars, and Mars is about action, being bold, being brave, argumentative, has got a mission, is very strategic and is making plans, can be very aggressive at times. So your ruling planet is transiting in that seventh house, which is very martial because it's a sign of Scorpio. So it's your relationships, your agreements, your contracts, negotiations, the house of marriage, the house of endings, the house of rest and joy. Your ruling planet is in a place where it just feels like there's nothing really peaceful going on here. I don't feel really good about putting all my energy into people, and people around me they're on and they're just bombastic. They're in your seventh house. Not a really helpful, great transit. What you can expect though in that seventh house, because it is an angular house, Taurus rising, what you can expect is you'll start to see the forest with the trees and what's working and what's not with your relationships and what's around you all the time, or what you've agreed to. You may start realizing, not sure about this. Again, use your instincts. If you're feeling or seeing a different side of a significant relationship, or contracts go a kilter, or it's ripped out from underneath your feet, a lover disappears. This is what you could be experiencing, but there may be a reason for it. So it could be helpful at the end of the day to get you untangled, a house of endings of something that's been sticky, weighty, clinging on or holding you back for a little while. Interesting transit for you as a Taurus rising. When your ruling planet is in the angular house, the seventh house, and in its detriment side. Okay, so on the 8th of October, your ruling planet trines Mars in Cancer, your third house. So this is not too bad, but Mars is in fall in the sign of Cancer. Mars doesn't do well in the sign of Cancer. It's very out of its depth. It's in an environment that really it doesn't like being in. But you have a trine happening here with your opposite, and your ruling planet's transiting in the zodiac sign that it actually is the lord of. Mars rules Scorpio and does rule Aries. So when you have a trine happening here, there could be, nuances ironed out regarding contracts, agreements, negotiations, short distance travel. You may be able to connect with a lover again on the 8th, or like a nice reunion. Everything's good, everything's better. Siblings and cousins, you might be reconnecting with some of them on the 8th of October. Not a bad day at all. On the 14th, your ruling planet then opposes your first house with a retrograde Uranus. So your ruler, the lord of your chart, is opposed to retrograde Uranus being in your first house. What's this about, Taurus rising? Well, Uranus is trying to do things the same way, not having any forward movement or action, just, keeping things the way they've always been a little longer than you may enjoy. Uranus retrograde, when Uranus is direct, Uranus creates a sense of freedom and moving towards a new future that's not here, but it's got the eye on the prize, and it's against the status quo. It does its own thing, very Uranus. I do my own thing. I'm odd, I'm peculiar. Yeah, that's right. I wear socks with Crocs, I do me. So when you're ruling, when it's direct, it's bold. It just breaks through any barriers or obstacles and just goes for it. It's just, and it can be quite disruptive and can create a lot of chaos while it's being very different and being the oddball and going against the proverbial grain. But when it's in a retrograde in your first house, this is like a very reserved part of you not being as bold, or so you could be a little bit out of character, dare I say it, bending to rules, bending to what's expected of you. You may be putting a lid on it. And Venus, your ruling planet, over in the 7th house, opposed to that. This could be you just realizing that you're blending with relationships more and being passive aggressive. And you're opposed to retrograde Uranus because some way, shape or form, you're not being your authentic self. So it can be a difficult day on the 14th of October for you, Taurus rising. Can be. Again, know your own natal chart and planets in particular houses, especially 1st, 7th, 4th and 10th. On the 17th of October, Venus, your ruler, then ingresses into Sagittarius, your 8th house, until November 11. So when your ruling planet now is on the move into the sign of Sagittarius, your 8th house, you're hyper vigilant about your resources and how other resources that support you, are they sustainable? Are they slipping away? Is a partnership, be it business or intimate, slipping away from you at this time? Or do their resources support you? So you'll have a feeling from the 17th of October to November 11 of trying to create balance and equality and really trying to make something concrete. Like, I want to get engaged. I love you. I want to do this for the long term, wanting to, immerse in a relationship and connect for the long term. You may be contemplating such subjects, but you may, for example, this is an example, but you may also be uh, in the middle of, going through your own financial paperwork. What debt do I have? What debts do my other partners have that we need to get free from? Or can we take on a mortgage and loan together to, get what we want? We want a house, or we want a boat, for an example. And the eighth house is the topics of inheritance. It's the topics of tax and debt, investments. It's the house of wealth and money. And your ruling planet transiting here will have you aware of what feels right and what doesn't, what you want to anchor into for the long term and what you want to sever from. Mars, the planet of action, the planet of destruction, the planet of bravery, initiation, the planet of war, the planet that is all about strategy, developing new techniques on how to get what it wants. And Mars can really help give you a sense of enthusiasm and optimism for the future. Mars is not a bad planet at all. Opening up the month continues its transit in the sign of Cancer, its fall position. Your third house until November 3rd. So from October up until November 3rd, before Mars ingresses into Leo, your fourth house. Stay tuned for future videos about that transit for you, Taurus Rising. Mars in its full position, an environment it doesn't like because it's trying to get to the heart of feelings and emotions. It wants to reveal what the truth is, what's safe, what's secure, what am I instinctually picking up on that doesn't feel organic or right. And Mars is transiting in your third house of siblings, cousins, short distance travel, education, teaching, writing, publishing, just to do with technology, technological gadgets, vehicles, neighbors. It's the place that that's familiar. You go to the same coffee shop every day, you get the same train to work. It's things that are in your immediate environment that feel organic and always part of you, and you're connected in some way, shape, or form. So when Mars is transiting here, ruffling everything up in those subjects in your third house in its full position, there could be emotional blow-ups and turmoil going on around you. So the advice here for you as a Taurus rising, because it sextiles your first house, you may be easily drawn into conflict or drawn into emotional situations regarding that third house. Just keep your distance, be strategic, know what works and what doesn't for you in those third house topics, and cut and eliminate any ties that don't feel good for you anymore. Simple as Taurus rising, right? Yeah, it's simple to, cut off my my education path, or it's easy to get rid of that cousin. It's easy to get rid of my neighbor. No, we know it's not. But you just may need to use your street smarts in a more strategic way. When Mars is in Cancer in its fall sign, there are ways around difficult situations. You can navigate differently, but understand people in your environment and what's going on around you all the time. They could be heightened and a little bit out of control. On the 24th of October, Mars in Cancer, in its fall sign, in your third house of day-to-day communication, short distance travel, all those subjects, is sextiling retrograde Uranus in your first house. It's easier to go with the flow. It's easier to be the peacemaker and really see the forest for the trees on the 24th regarding a situation that's brought across your proverbial table. On the 28th, we see that fallen Mars then trine retrograde Neptune in your 11th house. So for you as a Taurus rising, that 11th house, it sextiles your first house. And the 11th house is the house of benefactors. It's the house of advocates that support you professionally and are just, there's stable systems, societal groups that you're connected to of your own free will. They're supportive of you. Friendships, your goals. It's a house of charity where we all get together and we all go and advocate for a cause. We're ambassadors for human rights. This is the 11th house where you connect with people that are mover and shakers, but that feel good to you. They're people that you respect, if you will. There's a reciprocation of respect and connection. It's a very social house, that 11th house. So on the 28th of October, when Mars in full trines retrograde Neptune in Pisces, that 11th house, it's like a return of ambassadors or a return of connection from groups, allies, or friends that have been distant for some time. So it's like, you're welcoming back people into your environmental home again. Cousins return from abroad. You could see your car can't finally come out of the workshop. It's finally been fixed, something simple as that on the 28th. But it's a good day, indeed, on the 28th of October for you as a Taurus rising. On the 31st of October, happy Halloween if you celebrate it, the moon is in full in Scorpio in its waning phase, your 7th house, trining Mars in Cancer, its full position, your 3rd house. So what's easier on Halloween, if you will, when the moon is in its waning phase in your 7th house, is a relaxing and enjoying connection in your local community, with siblings, cousins, something that's going on with your neighbors. It's just like a nice, heartwarming day that feels deep and connected. You're emotionally connected, reuniting with old people, old places that were familiar to you, going back. Just looks like a great day for you on the 31st of October, Taurus rising. Mercury, our personal planet of trickery. Mercury can be trickery, have that sleight of hand connection and character about it. Mercury is a planet of intellect. It's very cerebral. It likes social connection. It likes information. It likes data. It likes to communicate and mingle at a party. It likes to move a lot. It's very connected to traveling. It's transiting in Libra, opening up the month of October in your 6th house of the day-to-day. On the 6th of October, Mercury squares off with Mars in full in Cancer, your 3rd house. So the 6th and 3rd house are in a square. What's difficult is to feel motivated on this day. I don't want to play. You're feeling some sort of disconnect, or there's like trouble in the neighborhood. It's disrupting your work, it's disrupting your health, it's disrupting your pets. Just a shitty day on the 6th between Mercury and Mars. Your 6th house and your 3rd house, the day-to-day, squaring off with the day-to-day with your work. So it could be the computer systems go down, for example. It's just a difficult day to navigate. We all don't get out of it, but it just happens to be in your 6th house of work and service and squaring off with your 3rd house of your immediate environment, something that's familiar to you. On the 8th, we see Mercury then trine Jupiter in its detriment sign of Gemini, your 2nd house. So the 6th house and 2nd house in a trine now. Yeah, Jupiter's in detriment, but it's in an environment that's not complementary to its character. But Mercury rules the sign of Gemini, and you've got a trine happening this day. So what's nice about this astrologically, if you will, is Mercury is encouraging Jupiter to take some action, be a little bit more bold in regards to your career or co-workers. If you want to change something up with policies and procedures, for example, in your workplace, this is the day to be more vocal about it. Let's have a look at this system. Can we change something here? So it's an encouraging day to make some positive changes that actually make you feel good or can improve your assets or your money in some way, shape, or form. Not bad at all on the 8th of October. Then on the 13th, Mercury then ingresses into your 7th house until November 2nd. So Mercury is now transiting in that 7th house, opposing your 1st house, and it's the angular house, so it's important. Mercury here will have you feeling like you're going to mixers, social events, going to concerts, really getting out there and being social and vocal, and really looking at your contracts and negotiating contractual agreements and partnerships and marriage and, planning a trip. This is where you can go, yep, let's finally pay for this. Or yes, no, I feel confident enough to anchor into this commitment in the sign of Scorpio. It's not a bad transit for finally making your mind up with doing some research or really contemplating and having some very frank conversations and interactions with people and committing and saying, yeah, let's move forward, let's do this. So not bad at all with Mercury transiting in that 7th house, even though it's opposing your 1st. It really isn't that bad for you, I don't think. On the 30th, Mercury then opposes retrograde Uranus in your 1st. So what's Mercury in your 7th house of others opposed to Uranus in your 1st house? I mean, you possibly being a little bit more cautionary, not as ready to change or move or make a decision. So just could be saying, someone's saying, take your time but hurry up. We've got to move, and you may be at odds. You may be instinctually picking up on something that you're not ready to commit to in the future. You might be picking up something sensory on this day. Something might be a bit off. Trust your instincts, Taurus. That's what they're there for. Taurus rising. And then again on Halloween, the 31st, Mercury then trines a retrograde Neptune in your 11th house. So a future goal or a dream or something you've been wanting for some time lands. So you could be finally booking that holiday. You could be finally getting engaged. You get the contract. You get the ambassador. You get the people that support your career and your profession going, yep, we're ready to go. Let's do this. Here's your contract. These are the deals. These are the terms. Would you like to commit? And the day comes where you need to make an important decision. And it could feel like a long time coming, but it could feel like something auspicious is happening that's quite uplifting for you when it comes to Mercury trining retrograde Neptune in your 11th house. Stay cosmic, Taurus rising. Thank you for tuning into your video about your astrology connected to your rising sign for the month of October 2024. It's going to be a busy one and a good one, but we are in that eclipse. We've got our 2nd eclipse happening this month, so we're still in that ethereal, mystical space of, something's brewing, I can feel it, something's changing. You're going to see it in yourself, or you're going to witness it around you and other people as well. Okay, ways to support the channel. And this is important for me as a YouTube creator. I need to be able to be brave enough to speak up about asking for a little bit of support from my viewers. And how can you do that here at the Cosmic Girl 101 YouTube channel? Well, you can book a personal reading with me. The email is provided at the beginning of the video. We connect with me in the description box below with that email. Let's talk about your own natal chart. If you've got any questions about future events, something important that's going on with you, and you need some illumination from a different perspective, I can help. Feel free to reach out and connect with me at that email I've provided. Like, share, and subscribe. Comment on the content. Check in again every month with your readings. Hit the bell notification so you know when the latest videos are uploaded for you to listen into your favorite subject of astrology like mine. But there's simple little things like liking, sharing, and commenting, and hitting the bell notification. These little nuances that you just go, oh, it doesn't cost you anything. It's no biggie, but it actually helps the channel expand and grow and get astrological information out there that others will benefit from also, such as yourselves. Take it easy, Taurus Rising. Have a blessed month, and I'll connect with you next time.